All right, welcome back. We're back with another episode of Decision Reactions. And this time it's, of course, about the Atlas Mountain Race. You're like, what the hell is that? The Atlas Mountain Race is a 1,300 kilometer self supported off road bike race, cycling race through the Atlas Mountains in Morocco, starting from Marrakesh to Essaouira. I hope I pronounced that properly. My friend Mark Gilmore, he trained, he prepared, and he lined up to do the Atlas Mountain Race in February of 2024. Now, he had previously signed up for this in 2021. It was postponed because of COVID, and last year he couldn't make it, so he finally lined up for this thing. This is an off-road race. It's self-supported, meaning there are no feed zones. You've got to bring all of your stuff with you. And there are 21,000 meters of climbing over some rocky roads. It is an iconic ultra cycling race. And Mark made a video about the race, and he had to make a decision. In fact, he had to make several decisions along the way. But halfway through, he fell off his bike. He twisted his knee on some rocks, and he had to decide whether or not to continue or to quit. So I want to dive in and I want to look at Mark's video about his decision around whether or not to continue. So let's get into it.
So, quick update. Today had been a good day, but a tough day. Made it across from Insamin to Afra, and then had some to eat, and then made my way from Afra, and I was about 30k in, and it's nighttime, and I was looking for the route. It all got a bit lost, and I've twisted my knee in some boulders. So just taking some painkillers and stopped at the shop here, and they've given me some ice, so I've iced it. So we'll wait for a couple of hours, see if it all is all right, and then go from there. Yeah, can't turn the pedals at the moment. Well, can't put any force through them, so we'll see how that gets on. Anyway, otherwise I'm all good. Just a bit cheesed off that I was going.
Starts at 4 a.m. after getting a few hours of rest. And the ibuprofen had worn off at that point, so needed to refresh. Had some breakfast and then start on the gravels. Look, this is a great example of fabulous decision making. He's not making any rash decisions here. He's taking some time, getting some food, getting some rest. There's a phrase, a saying, a rule, a heuristic that I like to use about decision making. It's called HALT: hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, and never make a decision when you're in any one of these states. And that's exactly what he's doing here. So fabulous.
And now, so I was up at 4 this morning, and got going. Just gonna have to take it a day at a time really now and see how we get on. Knee is still hurting, but taking some painkillers, and yeah. But look at this morning. Isn't that just beautiful? Isn't that just beautiful? Okay, check back later.
So here's another great thing. It comes from Annie Duke, and it's called decision stacking. And basically, it's that you don't have to make a big decision all in one go. You can kind of make smaller decisions in increments and see how that goes. And if it goes well and you pass a certain threshold, you can keep going. And if not, maybe stop and maybe decide to completely quit. But he's trying it. So this is another great example of really good decision making, decision stacking. Once again, take some painkillers, keep going, and see how it goes. And if it goes fine, you keep going. You keep going. So it's just another example. Really good decision making. I reached checkpoint 2 at 1 a.m. on Wednesday the 14th, covering 602 kilometers. That's nearly half of the race. 3 days, 5 hours, 50 minutes. My knee, while sore, was manageable, but because of compensating for the knee injury, I'd been shifting about on the saddle, starting to develop saddle sores. That's a big issue. With the loss of a day and the start, I didn't have the time to allow more recovery. So he made arrangements to scratch to finish the race. So the old Colonial Road will have to wait for another time. I'm sure that wasn't easy. And by the way, Mark was doing really well at this point. He was just behind the front group, the leader group. So he was, in fact, making some good ground on some of those who were dropping off. So how did Mark do? First of all, it's very important to understand that this was a difficult decision. Mark trained for this thing. He'd been looking forward to it for over 3 years. He got halfway through the course. He was just behind the leaders, the leading group. He was actually catching up on a few of the riders who were dropping off of that leader group. And it could not have been a very easy decision, even though he had half of this race to go. He was injured. Believe me, that must not have been an easy decision, but he did incredibly well. Framing, he thought about the long-term implications, his injuries, the saddle sore. Saddle sore is a big, big deal. And options, he tried things, that concept of decision stacking. He didn't just stop and make a rash decision. He tried a few things and he wanted to see how things progressed. That's a great example of decision stacking. Cognitive biases and other human factors. He rested, he took his time, and that is a great example of using the HALT principle: hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. He considered his options and he went through with it. I give Mark a 5 out of 5. Very high quality decision. Inspirational to get that far, inspirational to even line up for one of these things. But from my perspective as a quality decision maker, this was also inspirational. Great example. Our physical and our mental states matter an awful lot when we make decisions. We often forget that, particularly in an organizational context. I am sure that Mark will be back for another go at the Atlas Mountain Race, and we'll be back with another episode of Decision Reactions.